very enthusiastic this week.
It gets a little weaker every time.
Okay. Until we just don't have anything.
Yeah. Do you edit it out?
No, not always.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sometimes. I don't know how many, so yeah.
You want to start? I'll kick it off.
Hi, welcome to the Fix It and Post podcast. This is episode 7.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Josh.
And today we're going to be talking about drum roll.
Primer. I'm sorry, did I steal your thunder there?
You stole my thunder.
You stole my thunder last week, so it's fine.
We're going to be talking about Primer. Primer's a pretty well-known film. If you are kind of plugged into the indie film scene, you've almost definitely heard it. So it's kind of like the Godfather of indie film. Like, I mean, it's the thing that people reference it all the time, especially when they're talking about, success stories in the industry of unknown people making a name for themselves in the film industry, which is, what I want to do. So, so Primer, it came out in 2004 and it was, made, written, directed, produced, edited, scored, /starred in by Shane Carruth.
So he did everything for it?
He did everything.
Oh, wow.
Wrote it, directed it, produced it, edited it, scored the music, and he played Aaron.
Wow.
Did all that shit.
What a man.
And which is probably why it cost $7,000.
I was going to say, the budget was so goddamn low.
Because he did everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, I was trying to think about like what that $7,000 would have been put towards,
equipment,
props, maybe paying locations to shoot, paying the other actor, or I don't even know if he was paying the other actor.
Yeah.
That was the other actor's first thing, David Sullivan. David Sullivan's been in a bunch of other like TV shows and stuff like that since then, but that was his first credit. So I don't even know if they paid, if they were getting paid, but made it for $7,000. Passion project. The director was a former like engineer.
Okay.
So that's why
I was like, there's a lot of like technical jargon in there that I was like, I understand this because I was a chemistry major, but like these also don't go together sometimes.
He was that was kind of one of its signature things is that he didn't dumb down the dialogue for the audience. He left in all this technical physics talk, which was cool because it felt like these were actual engineers, which I think they were.
0.5 liters of argon. Yeah.
So, and they made it for $7,000. It went to Sundance, won Grand Jury Prize, got a release. It says it made $841,000 at the box office.
Very strange film, though.
It's strange, and I mean it
in a good way, like in a very, very good way. Like it kept my attention for the most part.
If you guys don't know anything about Primer, it's a science fiction movie about these two engineers who kind of accidentally stumble upon this time travel technology, and basically the way this time travel technology works is it's like creating a checkpoint basically that you can go back to later. So they create this machine that they can turn on, and they leave that machine on for however long they want, and then later they climb into the machine, and it takes them back to when they first turned the machine on. So it's not just like they can go whenever, wherever they want. It's like creating a save point so that after that you can go back.
You can reload it,
You can reload at an earlier state, which creates a whole bunch of weird time loops and things like that.
Doubles, fail safes.
It's like, I mean, it's almost, in some ways it's simpler than other time travel movies, and in some ways it's a lot more complex, because in other time travel movies, first of all, it's so goddamn hard to write a time travel movie.
It's not hard to write a time travel movie. It's hard to make one that's like cohesive that the audience can understand, because everything goes like wishy-washy. And then there's like critics and stuff that'll be like, oh, this doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly, because time travel doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's impossible to write a time travel movie without paradoxes.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm usually not a fan of them. Like I'm usually
I love them. I love time travel movies.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just always like you're always like, but if they did that, then they did that. And then
Yeah.
this never, it's like
I
you
don't
can
know.
pick them apart so easily.
The confusion also kind of like is what adds it to me. Like I spent
Yeah.
like when I watched Harry Potter this last summer for the first time, I spent like a good hour just like ranting about how stupid it was, and I was like, yeah, but if they never did that, then this wouldn't have. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's good discussion topics. I feel like, and it's kind of fun to
Yeah.
bitch about them almost.
It's just really hard to write like a solid. I don't know. For me, I'm just not usually a fan of time travel movies.
Have you seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
I've seen what?
Hot Tub Time Machine.
No.
I really want to watch that one. It's supposed to be a really funny movie, but it came out when I was too young.
See,
to
that feels
watch.
like one that it will not concern itself with the rules.
Yeah,
of time
no,
travel. It's just gonna
exactly.
say fuck it, they go wherever they want and do
Yep.
whatever they want and come back and everything works.
and everything's funny.
Because it's not about the time travel, it's about the going
Comedy.
to funny places
Yeah.
and doing weird shit. But this one's actually very heavily involved with the paradoxes of like, going, if we go here, what's going to happen because we don't know. So it's, I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I don't fully think I understand all the moving parts. I think I'd have to watch it at least once more to kind of get it solid down. But I think that's kind of the consensus. I think that's like people acknowledge that like that's just kind of how this movie goes. Like you're
Yeah.
never gonna fully perfectly understand every single thing about it. It's just it gets to a certain point and you're like, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's kind of like I agree. It's kind of like Passengers or not Passengers. The Arrival, where like it needs like a second viewing, and then like you'll start to understand more.
Yeah. So anyway, I was gonna say we should maybe talk about what actually happens in the movie, the plot of the movie. So after I watched it, it's really short too. It's
Do you want me to give my dumbed down version since you're gonna go into depth on it?
your dumbed down version takes like everything out of it.
Okay. All right.
I
fair
mean-
enough. If you want to go through it, then yeah.
Well, let's go through it. Let's try and break
Okay,
it down.
yeah.
Let's see if we can pick apart this primer movie. So it's really short. It's only 77 minutes.
Yeah.
Why? You gave a weird look at that.
I thought you made a pun for a second. This primer movie. I thought you were trying to say like prime movie.
No.
Anyways, all right.
No, you're just dumb.
I know.
But
It's not prime time.
Yeah. So when I watched this movie afterwards, I sat down for like maybe an hour and a half and tried to diagram this shit out and tried
So
to,
wait, you diagrammed the movie for longer than the runtime?
maybe, yeah. And I was rewinding
great.
and I was rewatching parts and I was trying to like map it all out and see what happened and like try and come up because credits rolled and I was like, I have no fucking clue what just happened.
Yeah.
I was so lost. And then after, an hour or so, I was like, okay, I think I got a handle. I think I got my footholds. And I thought about it for a while longer. And then the next day I looked up some
Yeah.
stuff and kind of finished piecing it together.
I didn't understand why he's wearing the earpiece until
the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because it's that Abe at the beginning that we saw. At the very beginning, we see him with the earpiece, but
Yeah.
that's actually future Abe
Yeah.
who has come back.
I thought that was very interesting because I was like, oh, I was like, why the fuck is this dude wearing
As he wearing the
headphones?
earpiece. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we see him with the earbuds, and sometimes he doesn't have them.
Yeah.
So that's a way you can signify.
It's a good marker.
And I feel like something that this movie did is there were really crucial moments that we never saw. Like, so there's this whole part with them trying to stop this gunman at a party.
Yeah.
And
He has
like
a shotgun.
we
and,
really
like,
only see a very small chunk of that. And so it's kind of unclear about how that fits into the plot at first.
Isn't he coming to like murder what's her face?
So what I think, and I didn't find this online, but this is what I thought is. So they said that Abe tells Aaron about the time machine.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of a day, and then later that night they have this birthday party where a gunman shows up,
Yes.
and we never see this. We don't see this yet, but apparently we learned that Abe was at this birthday party and this guy walked in waving a shotgun around, and Abe confronted him and stopped him, and this guy got arrested and went to jail or something.
Yes.
Aaron confronted him. Abe's the redhead. So
Yeah.
Aaron
Yeah,
confronted
yeah,
the
yeah.
gunman, and Abe gets mad at Aaron for doing this. He's like, how could you risk that now that we have this thing that's going on? How could you how could you be doing that? And so I think, what's happening is, that during that party, there's the current Abe that's at the party, and then there's another version. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I was gonna
say there
was
was another
up until that point.
There was another one that's in the box, and if the one at the party died by confronting the gunman, then something would happen to the one in the box. But maybe there isn't one in the box.
That'd be a weird failsafe, though.
And then there's the whole thing with the failsafe device that, so the machines work by you turn them on and then leave them running, and then when you decide to get in them, you'll go back to when you first turned it on. So at the beginning of the movie, we learned this at the very end, but apparently Abe has created a third box in a different location in the storage facility that they're using, and turned it on and just left it as like a failsafe.
Yeah.
So that if shit goes horribly wrong, he can always go get in that box and come right back to before he ever told Aaron about the time machines, and he can just start over, basically wipe the slate clean.
Also, can we just talk about how the first 20 minutes of that movie is just them like fucking around with science and then just like stumbling upon this, and they think it's like because they first discover it with like a protein buildup, like this like bacteria that supposedly takes like 5 to 6 years to grow, whatever.
Yeah.
But they like put a device in it and like it grows within like seconds.
Yeah, because a lot more time is passing. It's becoming unhinged.
And then but that was like the first like 20 minutes of the movie. Like nothing really happens until like.
I mean, it's setting up all the.
Yeah, no, it's a good setup, but I'm just saying like they made it interesting. But I was just like, this is like a lot of like nothing but something. I don't know. It's weird. It was. I
was okay with it. I think it was setting up.
Yeah.
Up all this, you know.
I like the bit with the protein and stuff because like also who the hell was that scientist dude? He was just that was like the weirdest comedic relief ever.
What about it?
Just he was like, it's bacteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bacteria. He's like kept going back and forth. And
I bet that guy wasn't an actor.
That's why
I bet that was like a friend that they had who was actually a scientist and had access to an office, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to come say 4 lines for us for this movie?"
Just like walks out, but
yeah.
And then they also have like doubles, and then they go live on their lives, and they're like, yeah.
So. Because eventually it gets to the point where, so at first they would, the way they started using this box is they would get in the box, travel back 6 hours in time, or however long. They're usually doing it in 6 hour chunks. So they'll come back 6 hours in time, and then there's two. They have a double. There's duplicate versions of them that exist. But what they'll do is like isolate themselves in a hotel room.
Yeah, I was gonna say they like rent a hotel room.
So they don't have any contact with the outside world, so they can't change anything in the timeline. And then they'll like buy stocks that they knew were going to go up from the next day because they had lived that next day. So they're kind of using it to make a bunch of money at first, and then
they just keep throwing parties apparently.
Yeah.
And
then later in the movie, they like come back and start like knocking the other version of themselves out and like taking their place.
Yeah.
And feeding the conversations of the day through into their ear with like an earpiece.
Yeah.
So they can perfectly mimic the steps of the day. I'm not exactly sure.
Because like the basketball scene where he's talking to that dude, I was like kind of following. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But then like, why are you, what conversations was that dude supposed to be having that he's not having now?
Yeah.
And then also with the gunmen, like they ended up just like taking the shotgun shells and letting that event play out without the shotgun shells in the shotgun.
Yeah, because I think he wanted to be the hero. You know, he wanted to have that because they'd gone back and he wanted to relive that moment that he had that first night. You know, so yeah, that actually does make sense because if the first time.
He was a hero, but he didn't know like if he was gonna live or not.
Yeah, but now he wants to have that moment again because he's gonna
Because but they also talk about how like the gunman never shot though, and like any of the iterations that they tried, like the gunman never shot.
Right, which is why I think they're okay with trying this because they know that he never fires, so they know there's they can't get hurt because he's never going to shoot the gun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's part of.
And then he basically at the end of the movie, he like tells them off, he's like, just leave, like go out there, do whatever, like don't ever come back to this place. If you ever touch any of them or talk to them, I'll hurt you, whatever.
Yeah, I think Aaron just wanted to relive that moment and have that kind of like on the record of being the
hero.
Yeah, you know, he wanted to have
he
that.
Wanted to impress that
stay
girl,
on
right?
his record. Well, no, he was married.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Aaron had a family, but I think he just wanted that to continue to be on the record that he did that.
Did they seem to like start kind of like disassociate at the end of the movie to you? Like they're talking about like the doubles and stuff, like they weren't people anymore.
Well, yeah. So there was also the whole thing with their handwriting and their ears bleeding.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of like just the fact
like they just talked about like they weren't real. Like that they just started to sound like they're like, oh yeah, like that's like the real version of us, but like we're just like copies.
Yeah, I think those side effects come from like existing in a timeline where you have a double of yourself. Because normally what would happen is they'd come back 6 hours in time. There would be a double for 6 hours until the double got in the box,
went back in time, yeah,
and disappeared, and it was like a loop, you know. So they would really only exist with their double for 6 hours at a time.
Yeah,
but then they started staying for longer, or like they started knocking out their double and reliving their life, so the double was still around and they were making multiple loops through
okay,
the timeline, you know. They were making multiple loops through the machine, which I think was having the negative side effects of their ears were bleeding and their handwriting was
you know, the common side effects of time travel and stuff.
Right.
Everyone
and
knows.
then at the end of the movie, so Abe and Aaron have this kind of confrontation at the airport.
Yeah.
And Aaron is saying to Abe, these are both doubles. These are the original ones.
The quote unquote original, yeah.
Yeah, the quote unquote original ones. They're saying that they should just leave. They should get their passports and go to some
wherever
language, you know, to a different country where they don't speak the language and kind of start over as doubles of themselves. And Abe says no, he's going to stay behind and like watch over his double
and sabotage the double too. He's like, if they try to build the box, like I'll just keep.
I think he also wants to make sure that his double never builds the box.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well, because he's like, he never wants him to complete the loop again.
Right. Yeah. He never wants him to start this whole stuff because it's fucking up the whole timeline.
Yeah.
And so then Aaron leaves and Abe stays behind, I guess. But then there was a third Aaron who came and went during the middle of the movie. And at the end of the movie, that Aaron is building a larger version of this box that they get inside, like a room-sized version.
Yeah.
Supposedly, or so that, like presumably so that he could stay in the box for longer. Because that's also part of it is however long you were going to go back in time, that's how long you have to stay in the box.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they want to go back, you know, so they turn the box on, wait 6 hours, get in the box. They have to wait in the box for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then until they can climb out.
So he's made like a little bedroom.
Yeah. So I think he's going to make like a room-sized version so that he can live in the box for longer and then, you know, travel back further in time, essentially. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So he do it for like a year at a time then.
Yeah. I mean, however long, because
that would suck though.
Like he'd have to stay in the box. Yeah. And it also depends on like, you know, how much oxygen he could have because they have to like flood it with argon, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because the original devices that they're using are like coffins, you know, they're like basically just big enough for you to lay down in.
Yep.
So and they have to stay in there for hours and hours at a time. So you know they have to have oxygen tanks and water and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess if he built a room size version, he would have to have like multiple oxygen tanks and a whole bunch of food and water and, you know, a way to go to the bathroom. I wonder what the
inside of that box looks like while they're going back in time.
I don't know. I think it's just dark, and I think they.
But like, what does it look like to outside people? That's what I mean. Like,
what do you mean? We saw the outside of the boxes.
Yeah. But like what? Like if outside people could look in on like what was going on, like.
Oh yeah, I don't know because we don't get.
Yeah,
to
we
see.
never get to see that, and like Yeah, I mean, I imagine it probably just like look like a dude, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's that's
Yeah.
part of the issue that like it comes
It's just
undone.
it's just like
There's only so much, you can only talk about a time travel movie so much before it starts unraveling,
Yeah,
before it starts coming apart at the seams, because there's no rules for time travel. We don't know how shit works
yeah, exactly.
because it's impossible.
Well, debatable.
Oh,
We'll see. We'll see how technology advances.
okay.
I'm not.
All right.
I'll never rule it out. If aliens exist, then
Oh, aliens definitely
yeah,
exist,
exactly.
but time travel does not.
Not yet.
Okay. Keep thinking that.
Hey, one of these days, man. You never know.
Yeah. You think it's going to be like The Flash, where somebody can just run really fast and
Listen.
end up wherever they want?
Hop off just because I enjoy the CW shows.
Life is not the CW, Josh.
I'm aware life's not the CW. It's yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fight scene episode. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, but overall, I really liked the movie. I thought it was an incredible example of like what can be accomplished for next to nothing.
Yeah, like the video itself was like grainy, but like
Yeah.
in an artistic way almost. And
you
the
forget
audio is
about it.
great. Yeah.
You forget
And,
about it so quickly. That it's like at first you're like, wow,
It's kinda like
this is a really
Baghead.
shitty picture, but it disappears almost
Yeah.
instantly because the story's really good. So it's a really good example of a film that,
Draws you in with the story and just kind of keeps you there.
if your story's solid, people forgive a lot about the visuals and
Yeah.
things like that. And $7,000.
I was gonna say a budget for $7,000, like that's almost achievable for us if we wrote a grant. Like
$7,000 is nothing. And I mean, it was in 2004, so 16 years ago, it's gonna be some inflation. But still, I mean, like for a 4-figure budget, they made
$860.
This guy made a feature film that won Sundance and kind of
did it make like what $816 million?
No, 841,000.
Sorry, yeah, I meant 1,000.
Yeah, no, this is actually the highest grossing movie.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that was the dumbest thing, second dumbest thing I've said.
But anyway, so I mean, it's inspiring in the sense that like, yeah, $7,000, like that's like within the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
for a lot of people. I mean, obviously
it's still a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money, but it's like to make a movie, that's
it's
like,
not the $20 million that.
Yeah, it's like, and honestly, like, if this movie had a $20 million budget, like, I don't honestly know how much better it would be.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the story was solid. Like what else could, I mean, it would have looked nicer for sure. I mean, the image qualities would have been a lot richer, but like, I think $20 million wouldn't have like improved the story all that much. I don't think.
I think honestly, if they had more money, they might have been a little bit more like, or like a little bit less liberal with like what they could put into it. So they might have actually just added more, and it might have like flooded it with too much information.
Yeah.
So I feel like the lack of information in this movie is actually what parts of makes it, because it's like you get to piece together what's going on and figure certain things out for yourself.
And like they probably would have. So I mean, like the time travel in this movie, there's literally no special effects at all. I mean, it's them just going into a box and climbing out of a box. So if you had $20 million and you were like, oh well, yeah, we can do some VFX, we can do body doubles and weird, fighting with our clones because we can CGI our face onto another body, and shit like that. I think that would have detracted from the story. I mean, it forced them, having no money and no budget for visual effects forced them to be.
Actually, we talked about this in
my
my directing class today. We talked about how like you can work in like a business with like the biggest and best equipment and stuff, but by working in like a stuff with like very minimal everything, because like we work in like a cow farm for the theater basically, and so like by getting those skills of like problem solving and learning how to like do the most with like a very little amount, you set yourself up for success when you get that big equipment, because like anyone can learn how to use like the proper like lighting equipment, anyone can use like learn how to use all this big stuff, but it's like the problem solving and like fitting as much like good content with like the cheapest stuff, that's harder for some people.
Yeah. So because if you learn to make something good with nothing, then when you were handed actual resources, then it's like, oh well, I know exactly what to do with this because
Yeah.
it's like I could have done this for $10,000, but now I have $1 million, so I guess I can.
I was gonna say it's like if these guys were handed like $20 million, I think they'd probably do a better movie than like a blockbuster that was given $20 million.
Yeah.
So
it's really just all about like how creative
and props
are you?
to him for doing like all of that with.
I know to do everything. I mean, like even composing the music himself. That just shows that it's like
super impressive.
he literally just did everything.
Yeah.
So it's just really all about how creative are you? How do you have a good story, and how you you can tell a very good story in a complex way with almost nothing. So it is very inspiring in that sense, and that like I could go out and do that. It's like it feels attainable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's making me like think about this, but like with Tenet coming out, like it kind of has like that mysterious and like intrigue with like the time travel and stuff, and they have like a decent budget.
Yeah.
So if the story's good, it might. I don't know.
Dude, if anybody can write a good time travel movie, it's Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I have complete faith in that man.
I'm excited.
I'll watch anything that man puts his name on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if he can.
Are you gonna? No, all right, keep going.
I'm just really excited for that movie because, like, I mean, there hasn't been a Christopher Nolan movie that I haven't liked really.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
If he's gonna tackle this time travel thing, I'm sure he's gonna have his own Christopher Nolan-y spin on it
and twist,
and it's gonna be kind of strange. He kind of touched on time travel-y shit with Interstellar, but that was more relativity.
Yeah.
It wasn't
fourth dimension.
Yeah, it was more differences in how time was passing rather than time travel. So
yeah,
it was, and now he's kind of more fully tackling that subject. With Tenet.
It looks so good too. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, have you seen anything else recently that you've really liked?
Seen recently? No, I haven't watched any movie. The Primer is the most recent one. I really want to rewatch Stripes soon. It's my favorite. It's my favorite comedy. Has Bill Murray in it.
Oh,
not Racing Stripes.
I was thinking of Racing Stripes. I was thinking of the zebra.
Yeah, no. Stripes with Bill Murray. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, okay.
It's a good movie. It's really funny.
I rewatched The Lobster.
The fuck is The Lobster?
The Lobster. A couple weeks ago. That's super good. You should watch The Lobster. It's a really.
Oh no, I actually did watch a movie recently. Kung Pao.
Oh.
It's my friend Nate. He had us watch this movie. It was a like Chinese like dubbed movie, and then they digitally edited in like a white guy to make it like comedic and stuff. So it's basically like YouTube poop if they had like a budget and made like a film.
Okay.
It about like kung fu movies.
Interesting.
It's not great, but it's funny. So
interesting.
That's like a medium recommendation.
You didn't sell it very well. Probably not gonna watch it.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's worth like the $4 to watch it on Amazon if you're bored, but I would not go out of my way to rewatch it.
Okay.
So
probably not gonna watch it on that recommendation.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you should watch The Lobster.
Okay.
Lobster's really good. The Lobster's a
do they use the song Rock Lobster?
No.
Well,
you always say all the movies I recommend to you are weird, and this one for sure is weird. It's like it's like kind of a comedy in some parts, like but really deadpan.
Okay.
Super weird. People being forced to date or they get turned into animals. So it's kind of like a one, but super, super good.
That premise sounds amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like you have like 45 days to find a spouse or you get turned into an animal of your choice.
Okay. All right. I love that.
Yeah. Really,
Does the
really
guy
good.
get turned into a lobster?
Well, that's his animal that he picks.
Oh, okay.
They say like, hey, if you don't make it, what animal do you want to be? And he says a lobster.
What animal would you be?
Me?
Yeah.
Flying squirrel.
Flying squirrel?
Flying squirrel. I don't know. That's off the top of my head.
Mm.
They're like little spider monkeys.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. I had a friend who in the dorms had a flying squirrel.
Like one of those little sugar gliders.
Yeah, a little sugar glider.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
yeah. Sorry for the episode last week being out late, by the way. I was stressed with auditions and things, and so I kind of just like I slacked a little bit, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But you got cast in something.
I did. I got cast in Importance of Being Earnest, so that's fun.
That's sick.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Also, my short film is out.
Yeah, I was gonna.
You can It's called We're Gangsters.
Check it out on YouTube. It's good stuff.
Under my YouTube channel is just my name, Kevin Colwell. You can go watch it.
Shimani was on it. If you watched Fight Scenes episode.
Yeah. If you watch the Fight Scenes episode, Shimani is the guest star, is one of the leads. So yeah, that's out now. You can go check it out if you want.
It's
shameless
really
little
good.
plug.
Yeah, I mean, I shamelessly self-plugged.
Yeah.
Theater thing. So
yeah.
All
right. Well, we haven't decided what we're talking about next week. Yeah. But it'll be something super exciting, so you should come check it out.
Yeah, it's always a good movie, or top 3, top 5, whatever. Yeah,
it's always interesting.
Yeah,
it's always good want to hear our voices.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll
see you guys next week.
Listening to the Fix It and Post podcast.
Yep.